We've all had those moments, haven't we, where you wish you just had a kind of cheat code for understanding people,
Yeah.
for navigating those tricky conversations, or even inspiring someone to do their absolute best. It often feels like purely theoretical knowledge. But what if there were practical, almost like magical principles you could simply apply? Is that even possible?
It's a fantastic question, and surprisingly, the answer from the sources we've dug into is a resounding yes.
Really?
Yeah, these aren't abstract theories. They're really, really practical.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a stack of incredible sources, articles, research, our own notes, and we really pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge or insight.
Giving you a shortcut to being truly well-informed.
Exactly. And today, our mission is to unpack the surprising origins of this enduring guide
And explore its most impactful principles.
and reveal how its timeless wisdom can maybe revolutionize your personal and professional interactions. We're diving into a book that became this huge international sensation despite, pretty modest expectations. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Right, and you might think, oh, it's just a self-help book, but it's really more than that.
How so?
From what we've seen, it's a profound testament to human nature, really, born from extensive research and, crucially, real-world application.
Okay.
So our goal for you today is to gain that knowledge quickly but thoroughly, hopefully help you discover some aha moments without feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, let's do it. Let's unpack this, starting with the unexpected origin story. How did this bestseller even come about?
Well, it begins with something genuinely surprising.
Oh, yeah.
There was this massive 2-year survey, cost $25,000 back then, which was a lot,
Wow.
run by the University of Chicago and the United YMCA schools in Meriden, Connecticut. They interviewed every single adult in town.
Every single one.
Yep, 156 questions each. About everything, their job, income, problems, interests, you name it.
And what did they find? What was the big takeaway?
Well, the top 2 interests weren't like wealth or fame.
No.
Number 1 was health. Okay, maybe not that surprising.
Right.
But number 2 was profoundly human relations.
Human relations, like how to get along with people.
Exactly. How to understand people, get along with them, make them like you, and importantly, win others to your way of thinking.
Okay, that's interesting.
But here's the kicker. Despite this huge universal need,
Yeah.
the survey found there was basically no practical textbook on the subject. Nothing.
That's wild. It's like everyone needs food, but there are no cookbooks.
Precisely. A huge unmet need.
So Dale Carnegie steps into this void.
He does. He created what he called his human laboratory.
Okay, what does that mean?
He personally interviewed scores of successful, really famous people.
Like who?
We're talking titans like Marconi and Edison, political figures like Franklin D. Roosevelt, James Farley,
Wow.
even Hollywood legends like Clark Gable and Mary Pickford.
So big names.
Yeah.
And what was he looking for?
He wanted to uncover their specific, repeatable techniques in human relations. What did they actually do?
Got it. Not just theory.
Right. And from all this material, he initially just prepared a short talk.
Just a short talk.
Yeah, but that quickly ballooned into a 1-hour and 30-minute lecture.
An hour and a half.
Yeah, which he gave for years at the Carnegie Institute courses in New York.
Okay.
And the sources really emphasize that the book itself evolved over 15 years of experiment and research.
15 years.
Yeah, developed out of the experiences of thousands of adults. It wasn't just his ideas in a vacuum.
Okay, so it's crowdsourced wisdom almost.
In a way, yeah. And Carnegie was confident. He asserted, these rules we have set down here are not mere theories or guesswork. They work like magic.
Work like magic. That's a bold claim. Is there evidence?
Well, the book itself shares some pretty compelling examples.
Like what?
There's one guy with 314 employees who apparently gained more profit, more leisure time, and more happiness.
Wow.
Countless salespeople sharply increased their sales, opened new accounts,
Okay.
and maybe the most dramatic, an executive at the Philadelphia Gas Works. This guy was actually slated for demotion because he was so belligerent.
Oh, well,
Applied these principles, not only saved his job, but got a promotion and a raise.
that's pretty incredible. It almost sounds too good to be true.
It does, but the results reported are striking. It really makes you pause and think about that Professor William James quote.
Which one?
Compared to what we ought to be, we are only half awake. We are making use of only a small part of our physical and mental resources.
Only half awake.
And what this implies for you, the listener, is that this book's sole purpose is really to help you discover, develop, and profit from those dormant and unused assets that James talked about.
Okay, so how do you actually do that? How do you use the book effectively?
Well, the book itself gives some really practical advice for getting the most out of it.
Like a user manual.
Sort of. First, you need to develop a deep, driving desire to master these principles. You have to want it.
Right. Motivation first.
Then, read each chapter twice before moving on.
Anyways.
And don't just read passively, stop frequently. Ask yourself, how and when can I apply this specific suggestion?
You get active.
Exactly. Underscore important ideas. Review the material each month. Keep it fresh.
Makes sense.
And crucially, apply these principles at every opportunity. Use the book like a working handbook.
Okay, really live it.
Yeah. And here's a really cool tip from the source. Turns it into your own personal success journal.
Yeah.
Record your triumphs, wins, using the principles with names, dates, results, right there on the blank pages in the book.
Oh, that's neat.
Imagine looking back at those entries years later. How fascinating that would be.
I love that. It turns a book into like a living document of your own growth.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into some of those core principles. Where do we start?
Let's start with the fundamentals.
What?
Handling people, building rapport, just basic likability. And the first principle is truly fundamental, but man, it's difficult for a lot of us.
What is it?
Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Yeah, that's a big one. Why is that so important?
Well, this one hits hard because it's so counterintuitive sometimes, right?
Totally.
Our sources show that even notorious criminals, think Two Gun Crowley, who murdered a policeman.
Okay.
His last words were basically, "This is what I get for defending myself." He didn't blame himself.
Wow. No self-blame even then.
Nope. Or Al Capone, America's most infamous public enemy. He saw himself as a benefactor, said things like, "All I get is abuse, the existence of a hunted man."
So people just don't see their own faults.
It's not just about being nice, you see.
Yeah.
It's recognizing that our brains are fundamentally wired to protect our self-image.
Yeah.
So direct criticism, no matter how true it feels to us, can feel like an existential threat to the other person. It triggers immediate defensiveness.
Right, the walls go up.
Exactly. That's why even the most hardened criminals justify themselves. It's this deep, almost primal human need, understanding that wiring is the real insight here.
Makes sense. It reminds me of John Wanamaker, the department store founder. He said something like,
I learned 30 years ago that it is foolish to scold.
Yeah.
He got it.
And Abraham Lincoln is a perfect example of someone who learned this.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Early in his life, he was known for writing these really stinging, ridiculing letters. He'd publicly mock opponents.
Ouch.
But he evolved. As a leader, he became extremely conservative and restrained in his phraseology.
He learned better.
Totally. Even his letter to General Meade after Gettysburg, which the source calls a severest rebuke because Meade didn't pursue Lee.
Yeah.
It was still tactful. And Lincoln actually never even sent it. He realized the futility, the damage it could do.
He understood the principle.
It makes you think of that poem, Father Forgets.
Oh, yeah. Powerful illustration of the damage done by just the constant habit of finding fault.
So what's the key takeaway here for your everyday interactions?
Criticism is like a boomerang. It just comes back to you.
Wow.
It arouses resentment, it lowers the other person's self-esteem, and ultimately, it makes real positive change basically impossible. If you want results, you got to find another way.
Which leads us neatly into the next one.
Exactly. Principle 2. Make the other person want to do it.
Okay, how do you do that without being, manipulative?
That's the crucial distinction. The core idea is simple but profound. There is only one way under high heaven to get anybody to do anything. And that is by making the other person want to do it.
Not forcing them.
Right. Threats, force that only yields temporary, superficial results. People resent it.
So what does make people want to do things?
Well, it taps into what John Dewey, the philosopher, called the deepest urge in human nature.
Which is?
The desire to be important. We all want to feel valued, significant.
Okay, connect that for me. How does that help get someone to do something?
Let's take an example. Stan Novak, a father, wanted his youngest son, Tim, to go to kindergarten. Tim didn't want to go.
Common problem.
Instead of threats or arguments, Stan and his wife made a list of all the fun things Tim would do there. Finger painting, singing songs.
Focusing on the benefits for Tim.
Exactly. They even started finger painting themselves enthusiastically, and guess what? Tim couldn't wait to go.
That enthusiasm worked.
It worked like magic, Stan said. But you raised a good point, the line between genuine appeal and manipulation.
Yeah, how do you stay on the right side of that?
The book stresses sincerity. True influence comes from understanding and appealing to the other person's genuine self-interest, creating a win-win, not coercion or trickery.
Got it.
Another great example is how Carnegie himself negotiated hotel rent for his lectures. The hotel wanted to triple his rent.
Ouch. What did he do?
Instead of arguing about his own budget or needs, he talked all the time about the hotel's advantages if he didn't tie up their ballroom for 20 nights straight.
Framing it from their perspective.
Completely. He focused on how they could book weddings, dances, make more money. He ended up getting a 50% increase instead of 300% without ever mentioning what he wanted.
That's clever. It's really about seeing the world from their angle.
Which brings us right back to Henry Ford's secret of success.
Remind me.
The ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own. It's so crucial. The source repeats it for emphasis.
And you see the opposite fail all the time.
Totally. The book analyzes some real-world bad letters, an ad agency, a freight terminal.
What was wrong with them?
They failed miserably because they focus entirely on their own desires, their own problems, their own needs. The recipient just doesn't care.
Right. What's in it for me is the unspoken question.
Exactly. Contrast that with Barbara Anderson. She wanted to move to Phoenix, needed a bank job.
Okay.
She wrote to 12 banks, but her letter wasn't about her needing a job. It focused on how I can help your bank meet its goals.
Smart. What happened?
11 interview offers.
11 out of 12. Wow.
It's that shift in focus, making it about them, that bypasses resistance and opens doors.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So principle 3?
Principle 3, become genuinely interested in other people.
Genuinely interested, not just pretending.
That's the key. Genuinely. The sources point out a fascinating study by the New York Telephone Company.
What did they find?
They analyzed 500 phone conversations. The word I. It was used 3,900 times.
Wow. Almost 8 times per call.
Yeah. People are primarily interested in themselves. Their world revolves around I, me, my.
And recognizing that is key.
Absolutely. Alfred Adler, the psychologist, put it very bluntly.
What did he say?
It is the individual who is not interested in his fellow men who has the greatest difficulties in life and further provides the greatest injury to others.
Whoa, that's strong. Almost a warning.
It is. If you're wrapped up only in yourself, you're heading for trouble, and you might hurt people along the way.
So how does being interested play out?
The sources give some great illustrations. Think about Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay. Teddy Roosevelt.
Amazingly popular, right, even with his servants. His valet, James Amos, wrote about how TR would call out friendly greetings, ask about his wife, point out birds outside the window.
Little things.
Little things that show genuine interest in the people around him, not just seeing them as staff.
That makes a difference.
Carnegie himself used this. He wanted busy, famous authors for his writing course. How'd he get them?
Wow.
He didn't just ask. He sincerely admired their work, told them that, and then asked for their advice and cooperation. He showed interest first.
Flattery, but sincere flattery based on interest.
Exactly. And consider Mr. Naffel, the fuel salesman. Tried for years to sell to a big chain store executive. Failed every time.
What change?
He finally decided to try a different approach. He went in and focused entirely on becoming genuinely interested in the executive's problems and the challenges of the chain store business.
Not pushing his product.
Nope. Just listening, asking questions, showing interest. He said he got more headway in those 2 hours than in the previous 10 years combined.
Wow, by shifting from selling to helping.
Precisely. It flips the dynamic.
There's also that story about the student nurse.
Oh, the lonely Thanksgiving story. Yeah, that's a poignant one.
Tell us briefly.
A young student nurse found a little girl crying because she was alone in the hospital on Thanksgiving. The nurse didn't just offer platitudes.
What did she do?
She shared her own loneliness, being far from home too. She connected with the child's feelings, showed genuine care, stayed with her. It transformed the child's despair.
Because she was genuinely interested in the child's feelings.
Exactly. So the big takeaway for you here is, to be interesting, be interested. It's the foundation of real friendship, real cooperation. Listening attentively, showing you care, it's the highest form of flattery.
Okay, that flows nicely into the next one, which seems almost too simple.
Huh. You mean principle 4, smile?
Yeah. Just smile. Does it really make that much difference?
The psychological impact is actually pretty significant, according to the research cited. Professor James V. McConnell, a psychologist, noted that people who smile tend to manage, teach, and sell more effectively and to raise happier children.
Interesting. Manage, teach, sell, parent. That covers a lot of ground.
It does. He also added that encouragement, which is often linked with smiling, is far more effective than punishment.
That makes intuitive sense.
And think about it in hiring. One New York department store employment manager said he'd rather hire a smiling grade school graduate for a sales clerk role than a somber PhD.
Wow. The smile outweighs a doctorate for that job.
For that front-facing role, absolutely. And it's not just visual. Even on the phone, your smile comes through in your voice. People can hear it.
I think I've noticed that, actually. You can tell when someone sounds cheerful.
Right. And the book shares this amazing story of a man, a stockbroker in New York, who is nicknamed one of the worst grouches on Wall Street. He decided, as an experiment, to force himself to smile for a whole week, starting right when he woke up.
Force a smile.
Yep. Smiled at his wife, who was apparently bewildered and shocked at first.
Ah, I bet.
Then he smiled at the elevator operator, the doorman, the cashier in the subway booth, people on the stock exchange floor.
What happened?
Within 2 months, his entire atmosphere changed. People started smiling back, his home life became happier, his work interactions improved, he handled complaints better. He said he became a happier man, richer in friendships and happiness.
Just from consciously choosing to smile more?
Just from that simple conscious act, it's powerful.
It connects to that old Chinese proverb.
A man without a smiling face must not open a shop.
Exactly. It's ancient wisdom.
And there's that beautiful piece quoted, "The value of a smile at Christmas."
What does it say?
Things like, "It costs nothing but creates much. It is rest to the weary, daylight to the discouraged, sunshine to the sad." Just lovely.
So the implication for you, listening, is clear. A sincere smile is this incredibly powerful, nonverbal messenger of goodwill. It brightens lives, including your own, and influences how people see you.
And building right on that idea of personal connection leads perfectly into Principle 5. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
Ah, the name principle. Why is that so potent?
Think about Jim Farley. He was instrumental in Franklin D. Roosevelt's political career.
Okay.
Farley apparently had this incredible ability to call 50,000 people by their first names.
50,000? How is that even possible?
Hard to say, but that reputation for remembering names was credited with helping FDR win the White House in 1932. It built immense loyalty.
Wow. And FDR himself was good at this too, right?
Very skilled. The sources tell a story about him meeting a group, including a shy mechanic who only mumbled his name once.
Okay.
Later, as Roosevelt was leaving, he sought out that mechanic, shook his hand, called him by name, and thanked him. Imagine the impact on that mechanic.
He'd feel incredibly seen, incredibly important.
Exactly. Even Napoleon III had a system for this.
Napoleon, what did he do?
If he didn't hear a name clearly, he'd ask, "So sorry, I didn't get the name." Then he'd often ask for the spelling. He'd repeat it several times during the conversation, try to associate it with the person's features or expression.
Making a real effort.
And he'd even write it down later to fix it in his mind through both eye and ear impressions. That's dedication.
It really is. Does it work for everyday folks too?
Oh, absolutely. The book gives this great little anecdote about Ken Nottingham and a cafeteria worker named Eunice.
What happened with Eunice?
She apparently always had a scowl, dished out really meager portions of ham, just seemed unhappy.
Okay.
One day, Ken made a point of getting her name, and the next time he went through the line, he greeted her brightly, "Hello, Eunice," and asked for ham.
Yeah.
Her scowl vanished. She smiled and piled on the ham, lettuce, potato chips, the works.
Just from hearing her name?
Just from being acknowledged as an individual. Because our name is so deeply tied to our sense of self, our identity.
Makes you feel unique.
Precisely. When someone remembers and uses our name, it bypasses our usual defenses. It signals, on a subconscious level, "I see you, you matter." It hits that fundamental human need to feel seen and acknowledged. Using a name is the quickest shortcut to that connection.
Okay, that's a powerful, simple tool. What's next?
Our sixth principle for handling people is, be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves.
Listening seems obvious, but being a good listener, that's maybe harder.
It really is an active skill. Carnegie shares this experience from a dinner party. He met a distinguished botanist.
Okay.
Carnegie himself said hardly anything at all. He just listened intently, asked a few questions, genuinely fascinated, and let the botanist talk for hours about exotic plants and experiments.
So Carnegie barely spoke.
Barely. But afterwards, the botanist told the host that Carnegie was a most interesting conversationalist.
Ah, because he listened well.
Exactly. Charles W. Eliot, a former Harvard president, had a great definition of good listening.
What was it?
He said, "It's not mere silence, but a form of activity." The good listener faced his interlocutor and seemed to be hearing with his eyes as well as his ears. Full engagement.
Hearing with your eyes. I like that.
The sources also describe a Mr. Detmer dealing with a furious customer who refused to pay a bill, claiming it was wrong.
Tricky situation. What did Detmer do?
He didn't argue, he just listened patiently. Let the customer vent, state his case fully, talk himself out.
Just let him talk.
Yeah. When the customer finally finished, Detmer just calmly said, "Thank you for coming in and telling me this." He acknowledged the customer's effort, the result. The customer calmed down, paid the bill, most of it, placed a larger order later, and became a lifelong friend and customer.
All from listening without arguing.
Amazing, isn't it? Think about that Western Union messenger boy back in the day.
What about him?
He became a welcome guest in the homes of really famous people. General Grant, Ralph Waldo Emerson, even Mrs. Abraham Lincoln.
A messenger boy.
His secret. When he delivered a telegram, if he had a spare moment, he'd admire something in the house and ask them to tell him about it. He encouraged them to talk about themselves.
People love to talk about their interests.
They do. Even Sigmund Freud was noted for his concentrated attention and the extraordinary appreciation he showed when listening. It was part of his therapeutic power.
Makes you think about people who don't listen.
Right. Dr. Nicholas Murray Butler, another Columbia president, had a harsh label for people totally absorbed in themselves.
What was it?
He called them hopelessly uneducated, regardless of their academic credentials, because they couldn't see beyond themselves.
Ouch. So the critical realization here
Is maybe best summed up by this line from the book. A person's toothache means more to that person than a famine in China which kills 1 million people.
that sounds harsh, but it's probably true from a purely personal perspective.
It highlights where our focus naturally lies on ourselves. So what this means for your communication is, again, to be interesting, be interested. Listening attentively, encouraging others to share their world is the highest form of flattery. It opens the door to understanding and genuine influence. It shows respect, it shows value.
Okay, so these first 6 principles really lay the groundwork. Don't criticize, see their view, be interested, smile, use their name, listen. That's a solid foundation for just getting along better.
Exactly. Building genuine connection, handling people effectively day to day.
But what happens when the stakes are higher? When you need to do more than just connect, when you need to, influence someone, lead them, win them over to your way of thinking, especially if there's disagreement.
Right. That's where we move into Carnegie's more advanced principles. These are about navigating trickier situations and actively persuading.
Okay, let's get into those. Where do we start?
We start with something that feels counterintuitive again. Principle 7. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it.
Avoid arguments altogether. But sometimes you have to disagree, don't you?
You have to address disagreements, yes. But Carnegie's point is about the futility of arguing in the traditional sense, trying to win by proving the other person wrong.
Why is that futile?
His conclusion, after years of participating in and watching debates, was stark. 9 times out of 10, an argument ends with each of the contestants more firmly convinced than ever that he is absolutely right.
So arguing just digs people deeper into their own position.
Pretty much. He presents this paradox. You can't win an argument. You can't, because if you lose it, you lose it, and if you win it, you lose it.
How can you lose by winning?
Because even if you intellectually demolish their points, you've likely hurt their pride, made them feel inferior, aroused their resentment. You might have won the point, but you've lost their goodwill. It's a short-term victory for a long-term cost.
Okay, I see the logic. Do we have an example?
Yeah, Patrick J. O'Hare, a salesman for White Motor Company trucks. He used to get into terrible arguments with customers who criticized his trucks.
How did that work out?
Badly. He won debates but didn't sell many trucks.
So what did he change?
He learned to do the opposite. When a prospect said, "What? A white truck? They're no good. I'm going to buy Brand X," Pat would say.
Where?
Brand X are good trucks. If you buy one of theirs, you'll never make a mistake. Their company is great. Good service.
He'd agree and praise the competitor. Seriously.
Yep. It completely disarmed the prospect. The argument just evaporated. Then, having established common ground and avoided conflict, Pat could gently pivot back to the strengths of white trucks.
And did that work?
He became a star salesman. His takeaway was, I keep my mouth shut about arguing now. It pays.
Wow. Ben Franklin had wisdom on this too, right?
He did.
Hmm.
He basically said that if you argue and contradict just for the sake of an academic theatrical victory, you might win the point, but you'll probably sacrifice a person's goodwill, and goodwill is often more valuable.
There's that funny little rhyme quoted too.
Oh, the doggerel about William J. Here lies the body of William J., who died maintaining his right of way. He was right, dead right, as he sped along, but he's just as dead as if he were wrong.
Grim, but it makes the point. Being right isn't the ultimate goal.
Exactly. Your goal usually is goodwill, cooperation, achieving a shared outcome, not just proving you're correct.
Which is surprisingly hard to remember in the heat of the moment when your ego gets involved.
It really is. Which leads us directly to Principle 8. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view.
Okay, empathy. We touched on this with making people want to do things.
Right. And Henry Ford's quote bears repeating here. It's the true secret of success, seeing things from their angle.
So how do you apply this when someone is angry or upset with you?
The book offers what it calls a magic phrase that can stop arguments, dissolve ill feeling almost instantly.
Ooh, a magic phrase. What is it?
I don't blame you one iota for feeling as you do. If I were you, I would undoubtedly feel just as you do.
Wow. Try saying that next time you're frustrated with someone. That'd be disarming.
Totally, because it's often true. If you had their background, their experiences, their information, or misinformation, their temperament, you probably would feel the same way.
The source uses that rattlesnake analogy, right?
But basically saying you didn't make yourself. Your character is a product of your body, your mind, your environment, your experiences. If you had Al Capone's body, temperament, and experiences, you'd be Al Capone.
That's a deep thought. It encourages sympathy.
It really does, and it connects to this idea that 3/4 of the people you will ever meet are hungering and thirsting for sympathy. Give it to them, and they will love you.
So showing you understand their feeling,
Yeah.
even if you don't agree with their conclusion.
Precisely. Carnegie himself gives an example. He made a geographical error in a radio talk about Louisa May Alcott.
Oh dear, what happened?
He was deluged with angry, insulting letters, especially one from a prominent colonial dame in Philadelphia who was absolutely scathing.
What did Carnegie do?
Yeah.
Argue back? Nope. He called her, and instead of defending himself, he profusely apologized for his unforgivable error. He thanked her for pointing it out. He basically validated her anger and took full responsibility.
And how did she react?
Her tone completely changed. She started minimizing the error, saying it wasn't that serious, even started defending him and apologized for her harsh letter.
Amazing. The apology and empathy flipped it.
Completely. Another great example, President Taft dealing with a disappointed mother whose son didn't get a political appointment.
How did he handle her ambition and disappointment?
He didn't just give bureaucratic reasons. He started by saying he could understand a mother's disappointment in such a situation. He empathized with her feelings first before explaining the constraints and why the appointment went to someone else based on technical advice. It mollified her.
He met her where she was emotionally.
Yes. We see it with Jay Mangum, the elevator tech. He needed an 8-hour shutdown for repairs. The hotel manager only wanted to give him 2 hours, worried about inconveniencing guests.
Classic conflict. How did Jay handle it? He didn't just argue about needing 8 hours. He started by acknowledging the manager's concern. I know that must be a heavy inconvenience for you. He validated the manager's viewpoint. Then he explained why a short repair would likely lead to a much longer, more inconvenient breakdown later.
Framing the longer shutdown as preventing a bigger problem for the manager.
Exactly. He got the 8 hours.
And Mrs. Norris with her piano student, Babette, and the long fingernails.
Right. Instead of just ordering Babette to cut her nails, Mrs. Norris sympathized. I know how much you love your nails. It's a sacrifice. And then linked shorter nails to faster musical development and playing more beautifully, appealing to Babette's musical ambition.
Babette decided to trim them herself.
Yep. Even the great impresario Saul Hurok used this with the temperamental opera star Chaliapin.
What was the issue there?
Chaliapin would often call just before a performance claiming a terrible sore throat, wanting to cancel. Hurok wouldn't argue.
What would he do?
He'd drip with sympathy. Oh, you poor fellow. Of course you can't sing. I'll cancel the engagement at once. It'll cost you a couple $1,000s, but that's nothing compared to your reputation.
And what would Chaliapin do?
Invariably, Chaliapin would sigh and say, well, maybe you better come over later. I may be better by then. He always sang. Hurok's sympathy took away the need for the drama.
So the key insight here for you is, Empathy isn't about agreeing. It's about understanding the other person's perspective and feelings. It disarms anger, fosters goodwill, and opens the door for constructive problem solving.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, what about when someone has genuinely made a mistake?
Yeah.
You can't always just empathize it away.
Yeah.
How do you address errors effectively?
This leads us to principle 9. Call attention to mistakes indirectly. And related to that, talk about your own mistakes first.
Indirectly, like beat around the bush.
Not exactly beating around the bush, but avoiding a direct frontal assault, which triggers that defensiveness we talked about.
How do you do that? Give me an example.
The source highlights the subtle but powerful difference between using but versus and after praise.
But versus and. How does that work?
Instead of saying, Johnny, we're really proud of you for raising your grades this term, but your algebra work needs improvement.
Which makes the praise feel like just a setup for the criticism.
Exactly. The but negates the praise. Instead, try. Johnny, we're really proud of you for raising your grades this term, and by continuing your efforts, your algebra can be right up there with all the others.
The and makes the praise feel sincere, and the suggestion for improvement feels like encouragement, not condemnation.
Precisely. It makes the feedback indirect, softer, easier to accept.
Okay, I can see that. What about real-world examples?
Marge Jacob had a problem with construction workers leaving her new home site a mess after they finished framing.
Did she yell at them?
Nope. She waited till they were done for the day, then went over and praised them sincerely for the beautiful framing job they'd done. Then she mentioned, almost casually, how nice it would be if the lumber scraps were cleaned up so the lawn wouldn't be damaged. The workers were pleased with the praise and happily cleaned everything up. She called attention to the mistake, the mess, indirectly after genuine appreciation.
Smart. Now, what about talking about your own mistakes first? How does that help?
It creates a sense of equality, of shared fallibility. It makes the other person more receptive to hearing about their own errors.
Dale Carnegie used this himself.
Yeah, with his young niece, Josephine, who was working as his secretary and making some errors. Before pointing out her mistakes, he mentioned how much older she was than he had been when he started, and recalled some of the really foolish blunders he had made back then.
So he lowered himself first.
Exactly. It made it much easier for Josephine to hear his feedback without feeling attacked or incompetent.
Here's that story about Kaiser Wilhelm, too.
Right. His chancellor, von Bülow, made a critical political speech. The Kaiser was furious about one part and publicly lambasted him. Von Bülow later realized his own mistake.
What was it?
He should have praised the 99 good things in the Kaiser's speech before bringing up the one questionable point. He should have talked about his own minor mistakes or uncertainties first.
Soften the ground.
Yep. And Clarence Zerhusen used this with his 15-year-old son who started experimenting with cigarettes.
How did he handle that delicate situation?
Instead of lecturing or forbidding, Clarence talked about how he had started smoking around that age, how bad the nicotine habit had become for him, and how he still struggled with the cough it caused.
He shared his own vulnerability and negative experience.
Exactly. He didn't preach or criticize his son directly, just shared his own story. It effectively discouraged his son without creating resentment.
So combining indirect feedback and sharing your own fallibility, it seems like a much more humane and probably more effective way to guide change.
It's about shifting from confrontation to collaboration, even when correcting mistakes.
And that leads us perfectly into our next set of principles, which seem to be all about inspiring people, not just correcting them.
Precisely. Moving beyond fixing problems to actually motivating excellence? Let's talk about Principle 10. This one's a three-parter, really.
Okay, what are the parts?
Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Then, give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. And finally, make the fault seem easy to correct.
Okay, let's break that down. Praise improvement first. Why is that so critical?
It ties back into that deep human desire to be important we mentioned. Specific, sincere praise feeds that need and encourages more of the praised behavior.
Specific praise, not just good job.
Specificity is key. Look at Keith Roper's story. He worked at a printing company, and they had a new printer who was struggling. The supervisor wanted to fire him.
What did Roper do?
Roper took the time to look closely at the guy's work. He found one job that was really well done. He went to the printer and didn't just say, "Good job." He specifically complimented the high quality, pointing out why it was superior to other printing.
He was detailed.
Very. And the effect. Within days, there was a complete turnaround in the printer's attitude and work quality. He became loyal, dedicated, determined to live up to that specific praise.
Wow. That one specific compliment changed his trajectory.
It really can. Think about the story of Marie the dishwasher in a restaurant kitchen.
Tell me about Marie.
She was described as, well, not conventionally attractive, maybe even a kind of monster in appearance, sullen, seemingly without hope.
Okay.
One day, the chef, maybe on a whim, said to her kindly, "Marie, you do not know what treasures are within you."
What happened?
It was like a switch flipped. Marie started taking care of her appearance. Her starved youth seemed to bloom. Her whole demeanor changed. That one sentence, giving her a glimpse of potential, transformed her.
Giving her a fine reputation to live up to, almost.
Exactly, which is the second part of this principle. Dr. Martin Fitzhugh, a dentist, used this brilliantly with his charwoman.
How so?
Her cleaning was just okay, adequate. One day he said to her, "Mary, you're such a good cleaner. I'm thinking of selling my house and firing my regular housekeeper. You could probably do just as well." He also complimented specific things, like how well she dusted.
So he gave her a reputation for excellence, even if she wasn't quite there yet.
Right, and she started polishing his office to a mirror-like finish, taking immense pride in living up to that reputation he'd given her. People often rise or fall to the expectations set for them.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the third part? Make the fault seem easy to correct.
This is about framing challenges so they don't seem overwhelming. If something feels impossible, people give up. If it feels achievable, they're motivated.
Carnegie had a personal example here, didn't he?
With dancing. He was a terrible dancer, knew it, and had given up. But one teacher told him, "You have a natural sense of rhythm. You are really a natural-born dancer." She minimized his actual errors, praised his supposed potential.
Even though he was bad.
Yep. She made it seem easy for him to improve because he supposedly had this innate talent. It encouraged him to keep trying.
Like telling someone they have a flair for something.
Exactly. Illy Culbertson, the famous bridge master, said his journey began when someone assured him he had a flair for it, making the difficult game seem accessible to him.
And the story about David struggling with math.
Yeah, his father wanted him to improve his C grade. Instead of saying math is hard, you need to study more, he linked it to David's desire to be a TV technician someday. You'll need math for that. Then he made learning multiplication easy and fun with flashcards, turning it into a game.
So he made the task seem less daunting and connected it to a goal.
Right. David ended up getting a B in math and even won an award at the school science fair. Making the fault, poor math skills, seem correctable and even enjoyable unlocked his potential.
So the overall insight here for you is, inspire excellence. Use sincere, specific praise for effort and improvement. Give people positive expectations to live up to, and frame challenges as manageable and achievable. It's about igniting that latent potential we all have.
Beautifully put.
Okay, what's next in our toolkit for influence?
Principle 11. Appeal to the nobler motives.
Nobler motives. What does that mean exactly? Like appealing to someone's ethics or values?
Precisely. It's based on the idea that, deep down, most people want to be seen as honest, fair, decent, and honorable, even if their actions sometimes suggest otherwise. Appealing to that better self can be surprisingly effective.
Can you give an example?
John D. Rockefeller Jr. faced a situation where newspaper photographers were constantly trying to snap pictures of his young children. He didn't want that publicity for them.
How did he stop them? Threaten legal action?
Nope. He didn't say, "You can't take pictures." Instead, he appealed to their nobler motives. He said something like, "You know how it is, fellows. You have children yourselves. You know it's not good for youngsters to get too much publicity."
Ah, he appealed to their sense of parental responsibility, their understanding as fellow parents.
Exactly. He appealed to their better nature, and it worked. They put away their cameras.
Interesting. Any other examples?
Cyrus H.K. Curtis, the owner of the Saturday Evening Post and the Ladies' Home Journal back when they were just starting and he was poor,
Okay.
he couldn't afford to pay the high rates famous authors commanded. So how did he get writers like Louisa May Alcott to write for him?
How? Did he promise future riches?
No. He appealed to their nobler motives. He'd offer to send a check for, say, $100, not to them, but to their favorite charity.
Oh, so he tapped into their desire to be generous, to contribute to a good cause.
Exactly. It bypassed the money issue and appealed to their altruism.
Clever. Carnegie used this too, right? With an angry customer.
Yes, a customer refused to pay a disputed charge, claiming it was wrong. He called Carnegie's company, insulted the staff, threatened to sue.
Yikes. What did Carnegie's representative do?
First, listened patiently, let him vent, apologized for the trouble. Then, instead of arguing about the bill, he appealed to the customer's sense of fairness. He said something like, "We know this charge is likely correct, but we don't want to argue. You know more about this than anyone. Please look over the bill, adjust it to what you think is fair, and we'll accept your decision. You be the judge."
He put the customer in charge, appealing to his fairness.
Exactly. He said, "Adjust it just as you would do if you were the president of my company." The customer, feeling trusted and treated as fair and honest, actually adjusted the bill very reasonably, paid it, and became a loyal friend of the company.
Wow, that's powerful.
It really is. The core insight for you is assume the best in people. Appeal to their desire to be fair, honest, and honorable. It can often unlock cooperation where demands or arguments would fail.
Okay, that's a great principle. What follows that?
Next up, Principle 12. Dramatize your ideas.
Dramatize, like put on a play.
Not quite. It means making your ideas vivid, engaging, memorable. In today's world, just stating facts often isn't enough. You need to capture attention.
We're bombarded with information, Red, so you need to stand out.
Precisely. Presentation is key. The mere statement of a truth isn't enough. The truth has to be made vivid, interesting, dramatic.
How do you do that?
Jim Yeamans, who sold cash registers for NCR, needed to convince a grocer that his old-fashioned system was losing money. Just saying you're losing money wasn't working.
So what did Yeamans do?
He walked into the store, greeted the grocer, and then threw a handful of pennies onto the floor.
He threw money on the floor.
Yep. The sound startled the grocer, grabbed his attention. Then Yeamans said, "Look, you are literally throwing away pennies like that every time a customer goes through your checkout line without a proper register."
Wow. The sound and the visual made the abstract idea concrete and dramatic.
Instantly impactful. Another salesman wanted to demonstrate the superiority of his cold cream product based on trade investigation results.
How did he dramatize that?
He didn't just present a report. He walked into the buyer's office and dumped 32 jars of competing cold cream products onto the desk. Each jar had a tag summarizing the negative findings for that specific competitor's product.
Whoa, that's a bold move.
Bold, visual, dramatic. It presented the facts briefly, dramatically, and he got the order.
So the lesson for you is, don't just state your case, show it, make it leap out. Use visuals, demonstrations, striking comparisons, whatever it takes to make your message memorable and cut through the noise.
Exactly. It's the showmanship of ideas.
Okay, that's about presentation. What about motivation again? Is there more on that?
Yes, there's another powerful motivator. Principle 13. Throw down a challenge.
A challenge, like dare someone to do something.
Sort of. It's about stimulating the spirit of competition, the desire to excel, to prove oneself. Charles Schwab, the steel magnate Andrew Carnegie, paid $1 million a year. Schwab said the way to get things done wasn't just money, it was stimulating competition. Not in a greedy way, but in the desire to excel. The game, the chance for self-expression, the chance to prove one's worth.
So it taps into a different kind of drive.
Exactly. It appeals to people of spirit. Think about Theodore Roosevelt again. He was nominated for governor of New York, but then found out there was a residency issue that might disqualify him. He got scared and wanted to withdraw.
What stopped him?
Senator Thomas Collier Platt, a political boss, didn't try to reassure him. He challenged him. He banged his fist and cried out, "Is the hero of San Juan Hill a coward?"
Whoa, that's a challenge.
It stung Roosevelt's pride, challenged his self-image. He stayed in the race, fought the issue, and the rest is history.
It ignited something in him.
It did. Similarly, Governor L. Smith needed a new warden for Sing Sing Prison, which was a notoriously tough, dangerous job at the time. Nobody wanted it.
How did he recruit Louis E. Laws?
Smith didn't downplay the difficulty. He challenged Laws. How about going up to take charge of Sing Sing? It'll need a big man up there. He framed it as a challenge fit for a big man. Laws took it.
It appealed to his sense of capability, his desire to tackle something tough.
Right. The book quotes the ancient Greek King's Guard motto, "All men have fears, but the brave put down their fears and go forward, sometimes to death, but always to victory." A challenge inspires bravery.
So for you, the listener, this means when you want to motivate capable people, don't just make requests. Frame it as a challenge, an opportunity to prove themselves, to excel, to win the game. It can ignite extraordinary effort.
It taps into that desire for accomplishment.
Okay, we're nearing the end of the principles. What's the final one?
The final one wraps things up nicely. Principle 14. Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest.
Happy about it. How is that different from making them want to do it?
It's closely related, but it emphasizes the feeling during and after doing the task. It's about framing the request or assignment in a way that aligns with their pride, their sense of importance, their convenience, or offers some other benefit they value, making the act itself feel good.
Okay, give me an example.
Colonel Edward M. House was a key advisor to President Woodrow Wilson. Wilson relied on him heavily. At one point, William Jennings Bryan, another prominent figure, wanted to go to a peace conference in Europe. Wilson wanted him to stay home.
How did House convince Brian without offending him?
House didn't just say, "The president needs you here." He subtly suggested that sending Bryan would make people think Bryan was the real power behind the scenes, overshadowing the president. He framed staying home as the more important, more prestigious role for Bryan.
He made staying home seem like the higher status move.
Exactly. Bryan is satisfied because it appealed to his desire to be important. House made him happy about doing what Wilson wanted.
Napoleon understood this too, right? With his toys.
Yes, he famously gave out 15,000 crosses of the Legion of Honor, called his marshals princes. He dismissed these as toys, but added, "Men are ruled by toys." He knew people craved titles, authority, symbols of recognition. Giving these made them happy to serve and fight.
It recognized their contribution in a way that resonated.
Absolutely. There's a simpler example from Mrs. Ernest Gent, a friend of Carnegie's. She had a problem with boys constantly running across and destroying her lawn.
What did she do? Yell at them? Build a fence?
Nope. She identified the worst sinner in the gang, the ringleader. She went out and appointed him her official detective in charge of keeping everyone off the lawn. She gave him a title and authority.
Ah, and did it work?
Perfectly. The boy took his job seriously, built a bonfire in the backyard, threatened to prosecute anyone who set foot on the grass. He was happy to enforce the rule because it made him feel important.
She made him happy about doing what she wanted.
Exactly. So if you want John in the office to clean the stockroom, instead of just ordering him, "John, clean the stockroom," you could frame it differently. Maybe point out the benefits to him or the team. "John, could you tackle the stockroom? A clean space would really make us look efficient for that upcoming client visit, and you'd be doing a key part in making sure we present a great company image." Connected to his pride or the team's success?
Make him feel good about the task purpose?
Right. The key insight for your own interactions is when you need someone to do something, think about how you can frame it so they feel good about doing it. Connect your request to their self-interest, their pride, their convenience, their desire to contribute. Find that win-win that increases their willingness and makes cooperation feel positive.
Okay, wow. That's a lot of powerful principles. We've journeyed through the surprising origins, the unmet need for understanding human relations.
Right, and then all these potent principles from Carnegie's laboratory, from the basics like avoiding criticism and smiling,
To remembering names and listening intently.
and then the more advanced techniques like avoiding arguments, seeing their view, praising effectively, appealing to nobler motives.
Dramatizing ideas, throwing down challenges, and making people happy to cooperate.
It's really a comprehensive toolkit. And these insights aren't just about winning friends in some superficial way. They're about understanding the fundamental drivers of human behavior.
Yeah, it feels much deeper than just popularity. It reminds me of that quote from Dr. John G. Hibben, former president of Princeton.
What did he say?
He said something like, "Education is the ability to meet life's situations."
Ah, that's good.
And these principles, really, they feel like a practical manual for precisely that, for meeting life situations involving other people more effectively.
Absolutely. A guide to navigating the human element, which is everywhere.
So as you, our listener, reflect on this deep dive, let's leave you with a final provocative thought, drawing from that William James idea.
The book states, and James implies, you possess powers of various sorts which you habitually fail to use. Dormant assets.
So here's the challenge. What is one specific situation in your life, maybe something coming up today or this week, where you can consciously decide to apply just one principle we discussed?
Maybe it's choosing empathy over argument. Maybe it's remembering someone's name and using it. Maybe it's finding something specific to praise, or dramatizing an idea you need to sell.
Just pick one principle, one situation, and think, how can you apply it to awaken one of those dormant assets?
And then consider, what impact might that small shift have on the situation, on the other person, and ultimately on your own life and your ability to connect and influence effectively?
We invite you to continue exploring these ideas, maybe even pick up the book itself and discover maybe the magic they hold for your own interactions.